Hello and welcome. These are horse racing selections for Wednesday the 3rd of January. I am Flat Cap Callum and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. Alright, it's a bumper video. So what do we got today? We've got the bet for Wednesday. It's a £7.50 split leg Yankee at Kempton. Kempton's the only meeting on, and as it's the favoured track, it would be strange not to have a bet. Nothing big on the price front, so just to warn you, some people prefer it when the smaller ones because they think it's got better chances, but yeah, they range between 7 and 12 to 1. 5 selections across the 4 races. 7.50 is the bet, so that's all there is for that. I've got to do the review of Monday. To be fair, I wish I didn't have to, but I've got to do a review of Monday and the dismal day that we had. And I'll do a mention on the darts, and I've got golf selection. So there is a tournament back this starting Thursday, the Century. It's only a small tournament, 59 players, but I've got 2 singles to put out for the golf, for those that like to have an interest in the golf. Then next week there is 2 tournaments, one in the US and one on the European Tour. So golf's properly back next week, but there is a little interest in the golf this week. And then after I've done all those bits, I'm going to do the review of 2023. So because it's only a small bet for Wednesday, I'll do the review rather than do it as a separate video, but I'll do it all at the end. So for those of you who just want the tips, you can go on your merry way, and then those of you who like to stay on and hear the stats and thoughts, things, lots of stuff I've got about 2023 and a few thoughts about potential changes, subtle things, but changes for 2024, and generally my sort of view of how 2024 is going to look. And I don't mean on the 5th of March we're going to have a banging week because all my sources tips are lined up. I don't mean that kind of rubbish. I mean generally thoughts on where the channel's going to go in 2024. So bumper video, so strap yourselves in, get yourself a coffee, cocoa, slightly stale mince pie if you've got any left, that kind of stuff, whatever you want to do. If you just want the tips, you'd have already fast forward. If you're here for the rest of it, lock yourselves in. So we will start, sadly, on Monday, where I got absolutely hammered. Started the year, statistically, with the worst day in the channel's history. So we've been doing this channel, will be 2 years, 2 years next week. I got absolutely pummeled. I thought it was really worth a good crack at Newcastle and got my pants pulled down, basically. That's the way it was. There was 20 selections that ran because we had a couple of non-runners. I had a nice 16 to 1 winner, but didn't have it with anything else, and I had no single on it because it was third choice in that race. And then I had a 33 to 1 horse got beaten a neck, I think it was, which would have made the day feel a little bit better, but sadly no. And a 12 to 1 place, and then 17 dots. Absolutely awful. What an awful. You couldn't have started any. I mean, literally could have had nothing. Could have lost 40 quid. But yeah, previously the worst was 35.70. The worst now is 36.60. So we got non-runnered. No good, no good, no good. And then that was 1 out the placings, but no good. We then followed up with this, which thought looked quite good. 1 out the placings, unfortunately. I think I said I had 4 in that race and I knocked one off. The fourth, the one I knocked off was second, but I did have the winner, Scott's Poet. But then I couldn't believe it. I think they filled 4 of the last 5 spots in that 2 o'clock Newcastle. It was so bad. I think you had a horse in the Enemy that went from the back, but almost nothing else went from the back much at Newcastle. Just one of them days. It just nothing seemed to go quite. Well, saying nothing. 2 things went right. No good, no good. Was that one? That was the horse that was that placed. Was that the one? It was 2 urban ones. I got confused there. Hang on. No, that was a non-runner and no good. So a non-runner in that one. So we had a refund for the single. That was right. No good, no good. Placed, no good. So we got nothing back for that. We started off this one nice. That got beaten a neck at 33-1, and then nothing to go with it. I think Chuzzlewit was one out of the placings. That was as close as we could get on that. So the 33-1 place we had here, nothing to go with it. And basically a write-off that bet. I had a fourth horse in that race that was second as well, but wouldn't have mattered really, would it? So yeah, all in all, a pretty horrible day. Not the way you want to start a new year. So we are starting in January, currently tracking for the year, 2 days in, minus £36.60. That is not fun. All right, let's do Wednesday's bet. So here's my Wednesday bet for Kempton. As I said, not big prices. The thing with it is I do much better on the all-weather September, October, November, December. I don't see, it's not that I do terrible in January, February, March. It's harder, is what I would say. The markets are more accurate because they've had a few months of settling down the form figures of the all-weather. So you tend to find it's harder to find bigger prices January, February, March. You've also got more low quality. So in some of the meetings, not particularly at Kempton, but you get more classified stakes, which is below Class 6 handicap level. So those are really like, you know, akin sometimes to like an Irish novice handicap hurdle or something like that, at low grade. So not great. You also have got a lot more 3-year-old only handicaps. So the 2-year-olds that were in nurseries in December with nursery handicaps are now in 3-year-old only handicaps. So those races are not normally where I don't really like to go there unless there's a big price or something. So the amount of races then reduces down for me to look at the all-weather. So anywho, these are 4 races that fit the bill, but nothing big. 4:55 Kempton, King of Speed at 12s. We've got the 6:30 Kempton, First Company at 8s. The 7:30 at Kempton, split-legged it between Anderleap at 8s and Tenerife Sunshine at 8s. Then the 8 o'clock Kempton, Sandy Paradise at 7s. You'll have to shop around a little bit for some of these prices. It does vary in places. It's 2 times 10p each way Yankees. So 1 Yankee's got Anderleap and 1 Yankee's got Tenerife Sunshine. We're going for ease, 50p win singles on all 5. And then a 30p each way double to round it up to the nearest 50 pence on the first 2. So 30p each way double, King of Speed, First Company. Even if we get a bunch of winners on this one, it's not enough. Probably go to the Armours. So it's just one of them. From a betting bookie point of view, Sky are 5 here. That's the only one they're extra placed on, so that does make them slightly advantageous because they're 1 extra place. Then the watch out is this 8 o'clock Kempton. We've got, other than Sky, there are 5 other bookies paying 4 places. These are 3 places across the board, but this 8 o'clock Kempton is the one that makes a difference. So Paddy are the only best price guaranteed bookie in the morning, but you've got Hills, 888, Betfair and Betfred all paying 4. 365 are not, but it wouldn't be un-365 like to, maybe good English, to change their terms in the morning to potentially go to 4 places in the morning, but night before they're not 4 places, so it might be worth checking if you're looking at using 365. 750, that's the bet, that's what we've got. But it's going to be a little bit of a quiet all-weathery week, really. I think it's Newcastle and Lingfield, I think, Thursday. And Southwell and something else Friday. Yeah, so it's the jumps is just, yeah, the ground's awful at the moment. So it is the general way of things in January. You tend to find the ground's a lot worse. You get a lot more non-runners. You get a lot more abandonments. The difficulty that presents for what we're trying to do is it does make it much more unlikely to hit a bigger win because you're more impacted by the weather and non-runners. So you're less likely to find opportunities, less big field sizes, and more non-runners impacting bets and things. So yeah, January is generally a challenge. I mean, most people find January a challenging month, and for me, I would say it's no exception. And when I get to do the end of year review stats, I will touch on January. So that is that. Darts, just a quick mention on the darts. I mean, I'm sure everyone's been seeing, it's all over the news, how Luke Littler's getting on, just smashing everybody. Rob Cross had a decent enough game in the darts, but Luke Littler's got to the final against Luke Humphreys. So world number 1 against the 16-year-old. Really, really fascinating because Luke Humphries has got better and better. He started very slow, but he played amazing tonight to win 6-0. And he won 6-0 because he played so well. So it'd be really, really interesting final to see how it goes there. As far as our darts bet go, they went down the Swanee, unfortunately. Luke Humphries was in the get to the final bet, but it wasn't Luke Litt. And I mean, I've gone through everything. I wouldn't have picked him out. So it's a very, very unusual thing for a youngster who's come through the youth tournaments to do particularly well in tournament, and let alone just blow everybody away. So he wasn't on my value radar at all. So not to be on the darts, unfortunately, for anyone who was following. So that's the darts. What was I going to mention? The golf. So golf this week at the Century, 2 players. I'll put it in the comments. Going for a shorter one, Sanjay Im. I think it's really good value. The best you can get, I think, is 30 to 1, 8 places, 365. You can get 33s in places for 6 places, which is fine, but 30s at 8 places for 365 is the best I've seen. And the other one I'm going to go with is JT Poston, broadly 80 to 1 in quite a few places, and you can get 80 to 1 at 6 places. There's a few of the smaller bookies where you can get 100 to 1, 5 places. I mean that's decent. I think with 8 places on 365, you've got to go down to 66s. So I would say the sweet spot is 80s. Well, technically speaking, the best value is 100 for 5 places. But if you want to play it slightly safer, then 80s at 6s is more broadly available for quite a few bookies. Both recommended at standard channel stake at 50p each way single if you wanted to put it in online with channel. I'll continue to do a little bit of golf on the side of the channel, but I'm not going to record it for stats again because it's very, very bookie specific. So yeah, I'm not suggesting these people blind. So Sanjay Im is probably okay at 28s, but JT Poston, 80s you wouldn't want less than that. So you'd have to shop around and see where it's best to go with. But I'll put those in the comments for those who are following the golf. So that is the golf. I think that is everything other than the review of the year, because tomorrow night will be Tips to League update. So we'll do a big Tips to League update for tomorrow night. So we've got to do the winner of last week's tipster, we've got to do the December winner, and then we will crown the overall 2023 champion. And I think, off the top of my head, over the course of 19 weeks, 39 participants ended up making profit. So I will rank and list down the 39, so almost top 40. We were one short of having a top 40. So the top 39, the 39 that made profit, and that includes some people who just literally played 1 week and we never saw them again, as well as a lot of other people that played lots and lots of weeks, and if not all weeks. So 39, and a lot of channel regulars in there. So I will post the full 39 when we do the Tips to League. So review of the year. Here we go. If you like the stats, you'll like this. If you don't, might be a bit heavy. We'll see how we go. I've written a bunch of notes. I haven't put them in a brilliant order though. So there's too many stats for me to remember off the top of my head for this one. So what have I got? Final total, which irks me slightly. We wagered in 2023 on the channel £4,998.60. I was thinking for a few weeks out we were going to get 5,000, but we didn't. We were £1.40 short of wagering £5,000 in the channel name. The channel return was £5,835.26. It's a profit of £836.16. That is a 16.74% profit margin. So comparing it to 2022, it was a 36% profit margin. We'll get in the difference in a minute between how we've recorded the stats differently, because in 2022 it was all recorded through Sky. 2023 it was recorded to Sky up until September the 5th. Then on September the 6th, re-changed how I recorded the stats. So we'll get to that. So there's a little bit of difference there, but overall I would say the 16.74% is reflective of more of an average year, whereas I said at the time the 36% was a slight, well, it wasn't, it was an overachievement. So 16.74 was more reflective. As I always say though, is a big health warning that won't appear digitally on a screen in front of you. I never guarantee a profit. I never will. I never want to. Never have any intention to. I'm not here. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. What I am saying to you is I've made profit on the channel for 2 years in a row. That does not mean anything is ever guaranteed in the future. I'm saying to you 16.74% for me reflects what I would say is an average year. But you can't make any guarantees about any year, because any year can be a bad year. We're good? We're good. I think we're good. All right, so overall running total for the channel. So since the channel started, £11,123.20 on, got back £14,175.32. So the channel's overall total after 2 years of performance, and this is not including Monday's terrible day, sits at £3,051.72, percentage return of 27.44%. Now, bear in mind the channel does this on flat staking. There are lots of different theories and thoughts around, how you might escalate your staking plan. I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. If you do that, you do it for your own back. This is a flat staking plan. I'm not here to try and win people the most possible money I possibly can. It's about risk, reward versus enjoyment, and trying to get that equation so that actually it is enjoyable and fun to follow along. Because if you go back to the history of the channel, it was just trying to show people a different way and try and get people to have a little bit of fun. And if you make profit, it's a bonus. But clearly on those stats, there's enough profit that you can be happy enough with if you followed everything. That doesn't include comments as well. I haven't been keeping stats of comments, but we'll come back to that as well. So what else have I got down here? So since I changed the stats, so from September the 6th, the stats read £1,363 on, 1,816 back, a profit of 453, which is 33%. But I think I mentioned in the other video, if you do compare that to the last 4 months of 2022, we had an increase in performance there of 74%. So the last 4 months have definitely been kind. So I'm not suggesting just because I've changed the stats, it's produced a better yield necessarily, because the back end of the year is historically when I usually do better. But what it is showing is that since I changed the stats and I'm no longer recording through Sky Bet, the running total for those 4 months is a plus 33%. And that is the picking a price that at least 3 bookies are paying at the time of doing the video, and the place terms being at least 3 bookies paying those place terms at the time the race takes place, which I think is a fair medium of how to record it. When I was doing freebets.com videos, people remember that I was recording that based on starting price. I was doing the selections in a slightly different way, and it's slightly different betting on a Saturday. So it's different, but I wouldn't recommend, if you want to make the most of your returns, I wouldn't recommend taking starting prices for my sort of selections. Saturday, get away with it a little bit more because the markets are more formed by the time you do videos. But so I'm basing on the fact that what my advice is, if you want to make the most of a return from following things I do on the channel, is have multiple betting accounts. You don't need loads of money in all these different betting accounts, but have multiple ones to give you options and give you the best possible chance. Sky Bet still is standout at the end of this 2023, still is the best bookmaker for the channel because they offer the most extra place races. But this year we've gone on a bit of a journey. There's been points where Coral were particularly good, and then we had a spate where Unibet and Betway were particularly good, and latterly Hills and 8 have been particularly good. None of them better than Sky, but they're all having their different moments. So it's worth keeping an eye on, and as and when different bookmakers come in and out of kind of place term land. But at the moment, Hills and 888 are seemingly coming out quite regular behind. 365 is always very solid, and probably is always usually second best, but there's been days where Hills and 888 have been second best the last couple of weeks. So what else did average stake. I was going to share that with you. So average stake, so I always say the channel average stake is £20, right? Because that's what my intention was at the beginning, and then 2 years in I thought, is it £20? Because I say it's £20, but is it £20? Because I don't want to be one of these people that says these stats that actually, when you actually go into the detail, it's not true. What I can say is the average channel stake for the whole entire year, if you wrap it all up, was £20 and a few pence. So that is based on 237 days of channel bets. So of any day I've made a video with channel bets, 237 of them in 2023. The average stake did actually come out at £20 and something pence. So yeah, there's times I do know what I'm talking about, clearly. What I did then is broke that down even further to look at the 161 days up until September the 5th of, because not only did I change the way I record the stats, I changed the staking as well. And so prior to that, so prior to up to the September the 5th, the average stake for those bets was £22.58. September the 6th to the end of the year, the average was £17.93. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on, because I did say at the time when I changed the stat, I thought the overall stake might, on average, might reduce a little bit, and that does seem to be what's happened, but I'd need more data to validate that to see if it's really true. So currently, since I changed the stats, the average day stake is not £20, it's £17.93. It will, of course, vary, but yeah, 237 days we've done videos. That's basically 2/3 of the days of the calendar year, pretty much, give or take. All right, what else? What else we've got? Performance. Oh yeah, performance 2023 to 2022. So clearly, 2022 performance was much better than 2023 in terms of percentage and physical amount of return. And I've kind of had a little look about why. I've got my own theories about why, and I've said I think 2022 was a slight overachievement. But actually, if you look through the number of days, so yes, we didn't do as many videos in 2023 as we did 2022, but on 2023, I only had 5 days of £100 plus, whereas in 2022, there were 11 days of £100 plus. So what we've been lacking in 2023 was enough bigger win days. There wasn't as many as 2022, and I would say there wasn't as many as I would hope for. So given the number of videos that I've started to now do, I would expect, if you looked at a whole year, it should be more about 6 or 7 days. We should be looking at 100. So 5 was below average. But what technically supported the results to make it not terrible in 2022 is there was a lot more worse individual weeks in 2022 than there was in 2023. So we made more money in 2022, but there was actually a lot more worse individual weeks, albeit there were more weeks we were doing 7-day betting, but quite clearly there was weeks losing £60-70, and there was more of them. So that was an interesting thing. So we lost on more days in 2023, but they were smaller losses. We also, if you remember, had this weird, horrible start where lost first 5 weeks in a row in 2023. Then in week 6, won just enough to cover the losses of the first 5 weeks. So after 6 weeks, we were slightly ahead by a few pound. And then I had this horrible run of 10 weeks in a row losing, which was roughly about 270 quid. So we were 13 and a half days in a hole. It wasn't quite, it almost got to that amount. So it was a terrible run as far as the channel goes. Now, is that reflective of real life for me? The answer is no, it wasn't. So there were a couple of other runs in 2023 that weren't good, where we had 5 or 6 week running losses, where we were sort of 150 to 200-ish down, not quite 150, 160 down. There was 2 spells like that, but the 10-week one was pretty standout. And I said this way back in then. The challenge was at the time I wasn't doing videos every day, and I'm still not, but I wasn't doing bonus videos, and I've now worked out the right way of doing bonus videos to sort of negate certain issues. So for those of you who were following all year in 2023, you might cast your minds back to Thursday the 2nd of March, I think it was. I put up 2 horses in the comments, both running in consecutive races at Taunton, as I think that's right. Taunton. I think they were consecutive races. Maybe, yeah, I think they were. Basically, 2 100 to 1 shots, and both horses came 3rd place. And I know on that day there were lots of channel followers who made a right decent return for themselves. Now, had that been a video day, and I'd recorded stats on that, and I'd done any level of single and little double on those 2, then clearly that 10-week terrible run would have been broken up with that one day, certainly. But yeah, I'm delighted for anyone who was on that 2nd of March day, but for a lot of people who didn't read the comments, or now learnt to read the comments because of that day, to put up 2 horses and then both place at 100 to 1. They weren't SP'd 100 to 1. They were both well backed in. But the best point of the day you could have got, and there were a couple of people who took 100 to 1 on both. I think when I put them up, one was 125s. So yeah, it was a really cracking day. The other day that I don't speak about is the 27th of March. And I didn't do a video on that day, and I didn't put anything in the comments on that day. Oh, and I did put a few bits in the comments on the day, but yeah, 27th of March, just trust me, that would have made a difference too. So there were 2 days in that 10-week run where the results would have looked very, very different had I done videos on those days. And since then, I've now got a much clearer idea and understanding of what I would need to do on a non-video day to make a bonus video, in order to that on those 2 days, those would have qualified for a bonus video day territory. But yeah, that would have made a massive difference. And I remember that sort of midway through that year, I think it was before we had the first decent win in May, I was so doing my nutting. It was so frustrating to be losing, but now there was these 2 days that were completely missed that would have made the whole thing look a lot better, because the whole strategy is not built on one great day in a year. It's built on hopefully 8 or 10 good days. And as I said, doing the videos the way I'm doing them, 600 or 700 plus days would be what you want. So it's not about one day makes or breaks a year, because if you're doing that, then that means the strategy is too risky. So thought I'd share that with you. Most successful day of the year last year. Does anybody know out there? I might leave a pause so you can actually play along at home. But yeah, statistically the most successful day in terms of most profit made last year was Saturday. So we talked a lot in 2022 about how difficult Saturdays seemed to be, but in 2023, Saturday was the most profitable day in terms of physical yield. So £388 of our profit was made on Saturday. Next best day was Friday, and the next best day was Wednesday. So the year before, I think it was Friday and Wednesday, Thursday. I think it was that order was the best way. The best days. So Saturday came out top of the pops. In terms of days of the week, the only days of the week, if you add it up all the totals that we lost on 2 days of the week last year. None of them on the regular channel video days, but we did lose on Sunday. So that was the only day that we made a real loss. It was £95 if you followed everything just on a Sunday. And bear in mind, for half of the year, I was doing a regular video on a Sunday, and then I switched it to a 4-day schedule. But yeah, and that start of the year, that really cost us. So latterly, when I've done bonus videos, it's actually come out a little bit different. But for the full year, it was a £95 loss on a Sunday. And the only other day that was a loss was Tuesday, albeit, according to my stats, it's quite unbelievable. I know Tuesday was not a regular day. I only did 7 videos on a Tuesday. Which came out a loss at £6.47. So Saturday, Friday, Wednesday, best 3 days last year, and Sunday, Tuesday were the only ones that would have not done you a favour. Months, that was an interesting one, months. So months of the year, so our best month for 2023 was May, £501. In 2022, we actually lost a small loss in May. Next best month was... Oh, hang on. Have I written that one? That was best weeks. That was best week. Best month, sorry, tell a lie. Best month, November, 591. Then May, 412. So our best 2 months, November, 591. May, 412. In 2022, we lost on both those months. So in 2022, we won on 9 months, lost on 3. 2023, we won on 6, lost on 6. But the 2 best months of the year were 2 months we lost the previous year. The worst month of the year was September, £162, which was a particularly good month in 2022. We also lost over 100 on July and March. So what I've done is I combined the figures of, if you combine over the 2 years, add up the 2 January figures, the 2 February, all the way through. The only 2 months that we didn't make profit across the 2 years was January and June. June's was very borderline, and January was the one. So January was, I think it covered across the 2 years. I think it's a £40 deficit, 2 days stake lost across 2 Januaries. Which, to be fair, I think is pretty good, because I'll always say I'll lose more days than I win, but I will try and win, and weeks, probably lose more weeks than I win. Months, I want to try and win more months than I lose. And on the channel, that was 6 and 6, 9 and 3 the previous year. The 6 and 6 doesn't quite relate to my own personal ones, and I was going to share that. My personal betting, I won for 2023. I won on 8, lost on 4. So what I'm trying to do is, and when I've tried to look at how I've changed some of the way I'm doing the staking plan, is to try and understand how there's a differential. March, I very much know, we've explained about March in these 2 days. There was one month actually where the channel was up and I was down personally. So there was actually, outside of March, there was 2 other months where I made a profit and the channel did not. And yeah, I think some of that is just variance, because I do a lot more bets personally than I'd ever could do on the channel. Not necessarily loads more selections, but a lot more different combinations of bets, and sometimes you just find that you get the right combinations together. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, 6 and 6. Yes, the best weeks we had was, the best individual week was May, 501. That's what I meant to say. And then in November we had back-to-back weeks, which absolutely sorted us out after it had been a bit hard work. 341 and 268. So best week in May, next best 2 weeks were consecutive in November. And then if I go through the actual best day, the best overall day was the 20th of May, £419 profit on that day, consisting of a what was a lucky 15 with an 18 to 1 winner, with an 18s, 25s and 33 to 1 place. So it was a quad place with 1 winner. Then the next 2 best were 15th of November, where we had a 12 and 40 to 1 winner in a Yankee with a 20 to 1 and 9 to 1 place. So it was a quad place on that one with 2 winners. And then third best, 10th of November, we had a 25 and a 22 to 1 winner with a 16 to 1 place in a Yankee on that one, with an additional double on the 22s and 25s. I think that's what it was. So we didn't actually hit any 3 winner lucky 15s. I remember saying this last year. We had 3 last year, and I said that was an overachievement, because statistically speaking, I would expect maybe the volume of bets I was doing, 1 a year, 2 would be good, 3 was excellent. Didn't hit any, unless I completely missed it, but didn't hit any in 2022, and still came out with a tidy profit in the end. But a couple of those, so that was a combination of 2 winners in decent prices, or it was quad placing with decent prices altogether. So that was I was going to share. I think that was it. Checking out, I've done that. I think I've done that. Yeah, I should have really written this in a less meandering kind of way, but hopefully that was interesting for people. That was basically a rundown of the stats: best, worst weeks, worst months, best months, how it compares year to year. But yeah, interesting the correlation of the 3 months we lost in 2022 with months that we won in 2023. Just the way it goes. I think there's only 3, therefore 3 months that we won both years, but not overall, doesn't manage to make it to a huge amount. And definitely the stats do say the second half of the year I've performed better both years. So both years, it's true to say the last 6 months, so July, August, September, October, November, December, have been much better than January to June. And yeah, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, the best results of a lot of them have come on the all weather. That's definitely fair to say. But we've have hit some nice days on the jumps and on the flat, on the turf. But they have been harder to come by a little bit. And I'm hoping the tightening of the selections and staking plan will help. So on to that. So I'm going to in terms of what I'm doing for 2024, I will continue to do what I've been doing, which is stat recordings are all going to be the same, but in terms of staking plan, continue to do Yankees. There was a question about this the other day. I'm splitting out the singles because I can vary the stake on the singles. So I'm hoping for a lot of people it's been a lot easier. So, but prior to the 6th of September, when I was doing 17p lucky 15s and 18p and 14p and 12p, to have the standard accumulator stakes on the channel as a 20p each way Yankee or a 25p each way Trixie. Hopefully that makes it like, and a 10p each way Canadian. That makes life a little bit easier. If it's win bets, it's consistent. It's a 50p win Trixie or it's a 40p win Yankee. Then from a singles point of view, the average is a 50p each way single if the price is right. If the price is not right, and without boring you with all the kind of detail on selection criteria, it's not as simple as it has to be a certain price before I do each way. It depends on the type of race and the price, and I've got a whole equation for that. And very occasionally, for ease, I'll just rather than write them out with different singles, I'll just do it the same thing, even if it's slightly out of the threshold. But broadly speaking, you've got 50p each way singles is the average. If I've got multiple selections, it will be 25p each way singles. If it's only a shorter price per the criteria, it'll only be a 50p win single. And then what I'm going to do a little bit more of for 2024 is on some of the bigger prices, going to do a little bit more of the 75p each way up to £1 each way single. So going to play around a little bit more with increasing stake on singles, because ultimately I think it minimises lost days. So you can have one big nice price could absolutely make your day if you start betting it like that, and it needs to be led by the value. So that's the plan for those. I've looked at what I did in terms of the selection criteria in September, and I'd say I've tightened it up again. I sort of did it, was happy with it. I've gone through the figures and I've made a few adjustments. So some of that is about the types of races, so the class and quality of the race, where a horse has to be at a certain value for me to include it. I want to have more of a lean on some of the all-weather tracks where I do better. So Kempton, Newcastle, Southwell, Dundalk and Chelmsford. Less keen on Lingfield and Wolverhampton. So I'm going to try and lean on the better quality, so class 3 upwards from a handicap point of view, and the all-weather, and also on the novice and maiden hurdle races, where I have quite a good record of finding these very big prices. Only at really certain times of the year, it sort of gets harder after March onwards, really. But so I've got certain types of races. So again, I'm not gonna bore everyone. I mean, I'm sure some people would love all the detail of it, but I think for 95% of people it's too much. But basically, I've got 5 tiers of races. So I've put all of that together, and I've tiered it in 5 different ways. So tier 1 races down to tier 5 races, and then based on the tiering, it means I've got more of a margin from a value point of view. So in a tier 1 race, I'm more likely to be okay with a shorter price. In a tier 5 race, it's going to have to be at least a certain price from a value perspective before I would include it in there. So hopefully what that means is there will be, as I said, more of a lean on better quality and my favoured races, and there will be on some of these more kind of regional tracks, unless it's a decent price, I'm not going to include it in there. So that's the plan. Anything else I was going to say on that? I think that's covered it. I hope that makes sense. And by the way, if there's any questions on any of this stuff, or whether people either just want to ask something for clarification or they're curious and want more understanding, then feel free to put it in the comments and I'll do my best to answer it. Obviously, people can always email me and ask me stuff if it's kind of just something I want to ask out of interest offline. You can email me. My email address is in the description of every video, and otherwise you can just ask it on the comments. So just always, as people know, don't always have loads of time to reply. So sometimes there can be a delay in response. If someone asks a particularly interesting question, I try and get a reply to it on the video while the video is still the current video, so more people can see it. But it's not always possible. And then for 2024, so I've kind of touched on this, but I will not be offering a full service through 2024. So the plan is I'm going to carry on with the 4-day week as we've been doing latterly. So that is selections for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I'll only do bonus videos on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday if I've got something that I think is viable. And to be clear, when I say viable, the threshold I've talked about with my tier 1 to 5 has got basically a higher threshold in order for it to become bonus video territory. So there's a threshold for the channel video, and on a non-channel video day there's a higher threshold in all of those tiers in order for a selection to be viable, to say actually I've got at least one selection that makes it viable to do a video. This is some of the stuff I don't go into loads of detail and stuff, but I know some people find it interesting. So I've got set criteria for selections for video, and then on potential bonus video a higher threshold. So that's the plan, but I am going to take at some point this year an extended break from YouTube totally. So I need to do a bit of time just to focus on family. Not that there's any, just because there's not I got some sort of personal problem, but you can, there's so much time I put into this because I really enjoy doing it, and I get joy from it, and my family can see I get joy from it. But equally, it's the fair thing to do is to try and balance that out. So I'm expecting to take an extended period away from YouTube some point this year, focus on that, and also focus on fitness. The last year, my running, as people know, I used to do a lot of running, really fallen by the wayside. As much as I've managed to do 3 10k races last year, that's really not anywhere near where I was. And my mileage count is there's many weeks where I'm doing no running, whereas in lockdown I think I was peaking at 170, 180k a month in terms of running. So if you can go from that to zero, you can appreciate I'm feeling a little bit on the sluggish side. And I know if I'm fitter, then my brain is more alert, and therefore I make better decisions when it comes to selections. So at some point, and I'll keep you updated, I will have an extended break away from YouTube altogether, and that would be somewhere in the middle of 2024, with a view that I'll come back in some capacity. Whether that's the same capacity or whether that's a more reduced service, I don't quite know yet. I've got an idea and a thought, but I'll keep you updated. So yes, there won't be a full year in 2024. 2 years of going at it. I'm nearly 600 videos in, and that's a lot of videos for 2 years. As a lot of you guys know, I choose to work full time. This isn't my profession. I choose not to be a professional gambler. I'm just not interested in turning over the cash and then the difficulties that come with some of that. I'm happy with what I'm doing and the balance in my life from a point of view like that. So having a full time job that isn't this, as well as having a young family, it all converges to mean that I spend probably too much time doing this and not enough time focusing on my fitness, and I definitely could spend a little bit more focused time not looking at my phone to reply to a YouTube comment when the kids are asking me a question. And I think anyone who's been a parent will understand that kind of moral dilemma. Like, you don't want to be one of those parents that the words you hear always is, "Dad, can you get off your phone?" That isn't cool. So it is very hard if I've got a busy horse racing day to not be distracted. So sometimes it's helpful, if you go swimming, you can't be looking at your phone, can you? Get out swimming with the kids, or you go to a cinema that's got no phone reception. There's nothing you can do about it. So there are times. Unfortunately, actually, my local town, the phone reception is pretty terrible when I go out shopping or cinema and stuff like that. So that forces me to. And my favourite restaurant, it forces me to not do anything on the phone, which is really helpful. So yes, that's a long rambly way of saying I'm having a break at some point. I'll keep you updated. Reminder, we have got the next channel meetup. The first one was in Kempton in September, and the next one is Dundalk, the 26th of January. So I am flying over to Dundalk for the next channel meetup. And yeah, hoping as many people who want to come can do. And the aim is just have a few Guinness, watch the horses, have a good crack. Basically, that's it. I'm not planning to do autographs. I'm just a regular guy who happens to do a YouTube channel. But the strange thing in all this is a lot of people know me a lot better than I know them. So then when I do meet them at the races or whatever, this is a sort of strange initial moment where they like don't know how to talk to me because they haven't met me, but they seem to know me. And I don't know who they are until you tell me who you are or your handle or whatever, or you say, do you know what, I'm a silent viewer, but I like it. Or, you know. So, yeah, come along, 26th at Dundalk, bring whoever you want with you, and hopefully we'll have a good time. And, yeah, we can just chat about racing and have a beer. That would be the plan. And, yeah, that's what I was going to say about that. There was something else I was going to talk about in this video, as well as all of these other stats and stuff, and now it's completely fallen out of my head. It's a 46-minute video. Do you know what? It's the end of year review, though, isn't it? And anyone who was going to complain about the rambling, they should have stopped watching about 8 minutes in when I'd finished all the other stuff. So, you know, it's only the committed. Oh, that was it. YouTube stats. I was just going to have a quick few YouTube stats. So, I'm up to 3,500 subscribers, which is just unreal. Like, you know, just way beyond my expectations of when I started of what was achievable. So I'm delighted with that. So thank you to everybody who subscribes. It is the best way to find out, particularly when I'm chopping and changing about when I'm doing a video. And I know people who don't subscribe think it might be some sort of scary thing where they're signing up to anything. You don't. All you do is you just click the subscribe button and then the bell icon, and then any time there's a new video, you get a little red dot alert thing. It doesn't make your phone ring unless you've got a ring on. You don't have to give any personal details. You don't have to give your address. You literally just press the subscribe button and press the bell, and then it makes you know when the next video's out. And if it's a different time to when I told you it was going to be, then you'll be on it first. It's helpful to subscribe. So 3,500 subscribers. We gained 1,300 of them in 2023. So we were finished the year at 2,200. And then we've got about 1,300 subscribers. So that's brilliant. So the channel is still growing all the time. So every week my subscriber count is going up, which is just fantastic. At some point it's gonna plateau, but it hasn't yet. In terms of actual view time, I think the view time is up 50%. So I know I put out slightly longer videos in 2023 compared to 2022, but actually the actual total amount of time being viewed is almost up 50%. On the previous year, and then the total watch time, the total views, so physical individual, and then the watch time is up about a third. So all the stats are really positive about people's engagement and stuff. There's all sorts of fascinating stuff you can get about the average age of people and the gender and where they're from, and you know. So I know most people are from the UK, and then the next big contingent is from Ireland, but then you know. I know when John's watching me over in Spain or anyone else, it pops up on my stats. And from an age point of view, the average age is between the peak age, if you go for 10-year age caps, is between 55 and 65, and you're much more likely to be a man watching this. However, there are ladies too, and I'm sure there might be people who are somewhere between. Anybody is welcome to watch and interact with the channel. All right. That's plenty long enough. Let's try and get this done before 50-minute marks up. So thank you very much to everybody. However people interact, people are generally lovely, and I wouldn't do the channel if people didn't continue to enjoy what I'm doing. Clearly, there's always a few that won't, and on Monday there was definitely a few that didn't, understandably so. But yeah, I will continue to do it, for as long as people are enjoying it. And yeah, I'm so genuinely humbled by the community spirit that exists within the channel, and the fact that people help each other and share tips, and it is all 99% lovely, great natured. So thank you very much, and thank you to everybody who likes the videos, because that helps some clever algorithm somewhere, I'm sure. But I'm never here to try and be the best or the biggest. I've always said that I'm just doing my thing, and I want the right people to find me, not everybody to find me, because not everybody will understand what I do or care about it. I want the right people who are interested and want to follow along. So thank you for all of you lovely people who that applies to, and I shall see you tomorrow night. Bye bye.